What if I told you that even the worst neighborhood in America could be made completely safe? How do I know this? Because it's happening right now in every country in the world but this one. It is great to see American machines helping to promote peace abroad. So then tell me, why can't we use these machines here at home? Why is America so robophobic?
Coming into this, Alex Murphy goes through the transition from man to machine and a number of places in between. Where do you start with the character, with the man or the machine?
Well, I mean, he's always the man, you know, and that was what I found so fascinating with taking on this role, people say, well, so it's two different characters. It's Alex and it's Robocop. No, it's always Alex, and he's going through this journey, and his mind is being tampered with the artificial intelligence that is making him believe that he's making decisions that he's not making, but not until they threaten his family. That I think that reaches to the core fabric of his soul sort of takes over and starts taking control again. So it's a journey and a fantastic arc to get to try to portray.
One of the things that fascinated me about this version is you could almost make an argument for Dr. Norton being the protagonist of the story.
You know, it's a great role. It's a great role because he gives me a lot to play there with where he's essentially he's a doctor who doesn't really know or want to know the corporate world, and then by no fault of his own, he becomes a part of it, and suddenly there's a surgeon and a sort of robotic engineer in meetings with marketing people, and of course he then has a deadline to get this. He has a release date to get this guy on the street, and his ethics are sort of challenged.
It seems like Claire and Alex have, of course, a bond as a married couple, but one of the things I noticed in the movie that's sort of interesting is Claire's kind of his emotional heart, and as his emotions go away, hers come to the surface far more. Was that very conscious?
No, I don't think that's conscious at all. I mean, if anything, something I had to be conscious about was just constantly checking in with Jose and saying, am I pitching this right? Is this okay? Because it's very hard. The concept of, you know, losing a loved one, the concept of having a loved one be turned into a robot or being kept away from you and your child, and the distress that your child is going through. Having paparazzi. Can you imagine having 100 paparazzi while you're trying to drop your kid off at school? Yelling at your child, your 9-year-old child, and all of these things. So I was constantly just saying, am I getting the tone right? Am I pitching this right? Am I getting enough color here? Because otherwise you could just one-note it.
I was also impressed, it goes kind of deep with the sci-fi and the intellectual side of it.
Yeah.
Was that something that drew you to the script?
When I first heard that they were going to remake Robocop, I wasn't that interested. I was a huge fan of the original film. I'd seen it like 20, 25 times, and I knew that there's so many bad ways that you can do a remake of this, you know, great film. But it was when they told me that Jose Padilla was going to direct this movie, that's when I really got interested, because I knew all of his work. I'd seen Bus 174, his 2 Elite Squad movies, and he's always got like a strong social and political point of view, and his style is gritty but poetic, and so I was really intrigued. And when he told me the story that he wanted to tell by using the concept of Robocop, I was amazed. And you know, when he told me that, then, you know, all those different portions were in that story that you know, really just drew me in.
It feels like in some ways he is sort of the real life Dr. Norton, Gary Oldman's character, building you into Robocop.
He is indeed. He is indeed.
Does any of the character come from working with Jose Padilla, as far as he's literally making Robocop? And in the film, you're doing the fictionalized version.
Well, I know that there's not directly, but there's a great deal of Jose in the material. Yeah, I mean, his contribution to the screenplay, his thinking is there, you know.
It's an interesting character too, because she's trying to be involved more. Is sort of the thing. She's being held at a distance. One of the sort of meta aspects of this movie that I really like is that, of course, it's a commercial film and it's trying to be a blockbuster, but it's also a smart sci-fi.
Yes.
And in a way, it seems like Jose is sort of like Gary Oldman's character in that he's building Robocop.
Yes. And he did from the ground up.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, there's a reason why he was hired. There's a reason why he's the one that's made this film, and this film is his film. And I think everyone around him, he hired because he respected and he trusted them and he admired them, and they all came together to make the film that you see, which is a really good film.
It's also nice to deal with sort of Robocop as a corporate identity, as a recognizable name, as a commercial property, and then examining what's behind that.
Yeah, and also it's interesting. Like, what is he? Is he a product now? And what right does he have to live? Because they can shut him off, and it's interesting that the contrast. He's so powerful, but he's also so vulnerable. They need to turn on that machine to clean out a system, and if they can switch him off like that, and what rights does he have? Does he, because he has a conscience? Does that make him a man? It's some interesting philosophical questions.
Quality Control, EM208 versus Tin Man.
Wow. We are going to make a lot of money.
He's coming.
Gonna play good cop, bad cop?
Bad cop, Robocop.
He's undoing what we did to him. Shut him down!
Thank you for your cooperation.